The theme for June is spiritual wisdom and how to follow it. Hi, Sunny. And today's topic is the force is in you. The force is in you. Now, I know that some of you here have been consciously on your spiritual path for decades. Absolutely decades. And I know that most of us, whether that's true for us or not, have been influenced and inspired by an amazing spiritual teacher, an amazing teacher who has shared wisdom and strength. I refer, of course, to Master Yoda from Star Wars. Now, in case you're not a Star Wars fan, Master Yoda was Luke Skywalker's teacher, his kind of funny-looking but incredibly wise teacher. I need to get this cord out of the way. So he shared with Luke the wisdom. He was teaching Luke to be a Jedi. He was mentoring him and telling him what he needed to know in sometimes very, very interesting ways. He taught Luke that there is this force inside. The force is with you. May the force be with you. And absolutely, Luke learned that lesson. Now, the word force comes from the Latin word fortis, which means strength or strong. Obi-Wan Kenobi, a Jedi Master and a mentor of Luke, explained the force to Luke in this way. He said, it's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us, penetrates us, and binds the galaxy together. Now, the force, like all energies, can be used for good or evil. It can be used for positive or negative. It can be used in service to the light side or the dark side. The choice is absolutely up to us. But the force is here for us to use, all of us in our lives. In fact, we use it whether we're aware of it or not. We use it whether we're conscious or not. We can either choose our thoughts, choose the direction of our life, choose our actions, or we can let life just happen to us. Which do you suppose is going to get us more of what we want and what we want to share in the world? We get to choose. So what is the force that's inside you and me? This amazing force. Well, Dr. Seuss quoted Yoda as saying, the force is the force, of course, of course. Well, that doesn't tell us much now, does it? But what I would do is I would change one word of that. The source is the force. Of course. The source is the force. And the source, of course, is that godness, that infinite intelligence, that amazing love that supports and creates the universe, that is divine intelligence, whatever name you have for that amazing creative power that lives in you. There's a chapter in the Science of Mind textbook entitled Your Invisible Forces. And here are some of the things that Dr. Ernest Holmes, our founder, said in that chapter. So let us take a simple lesson from nature. Perhaps from where you are sitting, you can see a tree in full bloom. If so, remember that the roots through which the tree draws its life are invisible to us now. And unless the tree drew on this invisible source, it would never flourish. Our roots are in the mind of God. Our individuality, everything that we are and do, is an effect of our invisible forces. Forces which continually draw on the infinite. But in our ignorance, we limit the flow of divine power into our lives. Now, right here is where our faith in the power greater than we are must be brought into play. If we think of ourselves as rooted in God and expect divine power to flow through us, our every thought and act will be animated by the same life and power and beauty that clothe the lily of the field. He has a wonderful way with words. So what if we started by remembering that all things are possible to this force within us? What if we remembered that there's only one thing happening? There's only one creative power. There's only one substance. And all of that is God. It makes everything out of itself by simply becoming that thing. It made you by simply becoming you. Thus, it lives within each one of us, each one of us. It's what you're made of and what I'm made of, what everything that has ever been or ever will be is made of. It's the very life that enlivens us. The force is in you. Now, find your pulse. You can find it in your wrist or in your neck, but find your pulse. Just feel it. Okay, now, make it skip 2 beats. Didn't work for me. Okay, let's try it once more. Maybe on this side, okay. Make it skip 2 beats. Well, now that doesn't work, does it? It seems that we are made of this amazing force called life. And life's job is to keep us alive, to keep our hearts beating, to keep that pulse going, to keep our lungs breathing. It's an incredibly powerful, powerful source and force. Now, we didn't create the force, and we probably don't understand exactly how it works. But we can know without a doubt that it is here for us. It is here to keep us alive, to keep us changing and growing, to keep us evolving and reaching for something greater. Reaching for something greater. Now, one of the most oft repeated phrases from Star Wars is, "May the Force be with you." May the Force be with you. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes, but first I want to take just a couple of minutes to do a Star Wars quiz. Okay? Y'all up for that? All right. Okay, first question. How is duct tape like the Force? It's got a light side, it's got a dark side, and it binds the galaxy together.
That's great.
Okay, what do you get when you cross an elephant with Darth Vader? An elevator?
Oh, Jyoti.
Okay, I have to admit, Dr. Roger Teal from Mile High was my mentor. I learned from him, and he does some really corny stuff. So if he does it, I can do it. Yeah, okay. Next question. What program would a Jedi Master use to view his or her PDF files? Adobe One Kenobi? Now, you will be glad to know that this next one is the last one. Okay. Which website did Chewbacca get arrested for creating? WikiLeaks? Okay, well, you did pretty well. Not bad, not bad. So let's get back to May the Force be with you. Now, May the Force be with you. It's not just saying something like, oh, I hope the Force is going to be with you. I hope that's going to happen. It is a powerful reminder that the Force is not only with us and around us, but it's in us. It is the very life that grows our fingernails and digests our food and heals us if we happen to get a paper cut. It is part of who we are. We can never, never, never be separated from it. Now, we can fail to call on it or fail to remember that it's there. And when we fail to remember it's there, it doesn't do much good for us. It's like an invisible bank account that is endless, that never dries up and has no bank charges associated with it. We can either use that, we can let it sit for years and not use it, or we can use it and allow it to enrich our lives on a continual basis. The force is like that. It is here for us, as us, in us, and it's ours to choose to use it or not. If we forget that it's there, it doesn't do us any good at all. Having the force is one thing, but we must remember that it's there. We have to call on it and use it in order for it to come into its full power and glory in our lives. May the force be with you. Ernest Holmes said, this thing called life, which we could also call the force as far as I'm concerned, is not only a healing agency for the body and the emotions, it's also sustenance for our daily need in every department of life. The force, that divine source, provides ideas and inspiration. It provides motivation and energy and guidance. It absolutely is here for us to give us what we need, to move through us what we need. So there's an experiment that I would like you to consider. I would ask you to claim that spirit or the force or whatever you want to call it provides all of the energy, maybe you better move this up just a little bit, all of the energy and all of the motivation for whatever it is you hope to accomplish tomorrow. Claim right now that all of that is already provided. It's a powerful thing to do. Now, I know this is something that I use a lot because, y'all know I stand up here and talk almost every Sunday. And without the inspiration of spirit, oh, honeys, we would be in big trouble. I mean, I consciously court the divine, opening up, saying, all right, I am open to the goodness. I am open to the inspiration. These are people that I love, and I want to remind you who you are. I want to remind you of your magnificence and all that is possible in your amazing lives. So trust me, it works. When we stand up and claim that this power is already ours, then we're expecting it. Then when we wake up in the morning, it's just like, well, I wonder how Spirit is going to show up today. I wonder what miracles I'm going to see. I wonder what connections are being made on the unseen that will be amazing blessings for me. Amazing blessings for me. So Jesus said, the Father within me does the work. We could say the force within me, or Spirit within me, or the universal energy within me. How about this affirmation? The force within me provides the energy, motivation, and resources to do all I choose to do with love and ease and grace and joy. Say that with me. The force within me provides the energy, motivation, and resources to do all I choose to do with love and ease and grace and joy. Now, This is on a bookmark that is, Lori's got them, and she's going to put them on the little table.
Oh, good.
Just outside where the Science of Mind magazines are. So feel free to take one of those when you leave. So we can remember and claim the power of the force within us, and we can allow it to guide us, energize us. Denise obviously allows it to sing through her in amazing and beautiful ways. And we all do that in our own ways in life. As we open up, Spirit gets to express in some very unique ways as I look around. But we all we need to keep remembering and to keep trusting and to keep believing. Even Luke Skywalker had to keep practicing. Even Luke Skywalker had to keep trusting and keep believing. Do you remember him in the forest when he was trying to raise up his ship out of the mucky water? And he got it almost out, and then something happened. I think it was fear or doubt, and it all went splashing back into the water. He wasn't sure he could do it. He didn't believe he could do it. He was afraid he couldn't do it. He said, I don't believe. And Yoda, the wise one, of course, said, that is why you fail. You don't believe? That is why you fail. So have you ever had those hard times when fear and doubt get in the way? When it's hard to believe? Yeah, I see some heads nodding because we have all been there. NPR did a story about cartographers, map makers, from back in the times where they believed that the earth was flat. And so what these map makers did is they made maps showing the then known edges of the world. The then known edges of the world. And beyond the known edges, it is said that they wrote, here be dragons.
Ooh.
Here be dragons, the unknown. And you know, it seems like we kind of do the same thing at times. We create dragons of fear and lack and limitation. And then we allow ourselves to be bound by our boundaries, what we know, what is known to us and safe, even if it's not comfortable and even if we don't like it. So we are guilty also of just setting those boundaries to our world, making edges, and beyond that, we don't want to go. We don't want to go. Now, the thing about that is that finding out that there were no boundaries, finding out that there were no edges, was not a complicated thing. What it took was for somebody to step up and have the guts to get in a boat and sail right through those boundaries. And then they no longer existed. Now that's something that certainly we can do as well. All that's required for us to expand, to move into more love and more joy and more abundance, a more fulfilling life, is that we step beyond our known boundaries. That we remember that the force is not only with us, but it is in us. And to create our lives consciously using the power of thought, the teachings that we have. And to trust the guidance of that force, that source that is always here for us. If we ask for guidance, we will be given guidance. Now my phrase for this is pretty complex, so, okay, what now, God? Okay, what now, God? You know, and I'm always told. So however you ask and open for that guidance, I encourage you to do it. So let's go back to the affirmation that we said before and say it one more time together. The force within me provides the energy, motivation, and resources to do all I choose to do with love and ease and grace and joy. So your homework, should you decide to accept it, is to remember that the force, the source, the godness, that love and support that the universe is here for you. Remember that it's here and let it take you beyond the known edges, beyond your boundaries, into your most absolutely magnificent future. You up for that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, whoops. Siri wants to help me.
Yes, she does.
No, thank you. So with that, as practitioners stand with me in high consciousness, let's move into prayer. And so we open to the force, we open to the source, we open to the divine love, to the absolute guidance, to the brilliance of the universe. We open and let it infuse us. We remember that it has already infused us. And so as we go forward this week, as expressions of the divine, we remember our divinity. We remember that the force is in us. And we share it. We share it in the ways that come most natural to us. We open up, we give, we are able to share our light. Oh, and it feels so good when we do. And so I absolutely know that as each one of us goes forward this week, that our path is filled with delightful reminders that the force is in us, that the force is ours to call upon and use, that the force is guiding us, blessing us. And so I absolutely know that this happens in delightful ways for each one of us, surprising ways even. As we see something and are reminded, oh yes, that's a gift from the divine. Oh yes, that's a special reminder from God. Oh yes, I am so blessed. And so knowing that we are blessed, we open our hearts and we allow. I'm grateful, grateful, grateful. I let it go into the action of the law that only knows how to say yes. And I invite you to say with me, and so it is.